Hi, everybody. Johnny checking in before we continue the next chapter of Shreckland, which is called Night of the Dead Living. And this chapter has Kumiko as our point of view narrator. And she, like everyone else, is trying to figure herself out still. And college is a great place to do that because you have an opportunity to meet a lot of different people from different walks of life. You get to learn and study um, different subjects, and through that learning and through that expanding of your horizons, it allows you to hold up a more accurate mirror to yourself. I myself am a college dropout, but that's due to financial troubles, and we'll just leave those aside. We now continue. Shreckland, Night of the Dead Living. So, I'm Kumiko Maeda. I'm full blooded Japanese. I have a Japanese name, and I'm totally Americanized. I only speak English. I eat McDonald's and Panda Express. Most of the time, this embarrasses me. I'm pretty awkward to begin with, but I disguise it behind audacity. At home, I'm vanilla, but when I go out to class or club meetings, I wear wild wigs and weird contacts. They cost a lot because they're also prescription, but they're worth it. Hiding behind my mask, I can be daring and exciting, but in reality, I'm scared all the time. I'm scared of ghosts. I'm scared of failure. I'm scared people will find out how phony I am. My parents don't know the real me, and neither do my friends. Online, I still have another mask. I'm this worldly, advice dispensing, mysterious, exotic woman. Really? I'm just a little girl playing dress up. How can I be so frank? Big changes happened. And it all happened because of that stupid park, Shreckland. Even the name was dumb. I hate Carpenter Craven's movies. They're overhyped, semi pretentious, ultimately brainless. No attention to mood or the scenery. He and Takashi Miike should go bowling. I bet they'd be pals. I like the slower kind of horror movies. The kinds you usually get out of Asia. Whispering Corridors, A Tale of Two Sisters, Tomoe, even Uzumaki. The manga's way better, but the movie works. Yeah, I read manga and I watch anime, and I'm scared to try to learn Japanese. What if I can't? I would die of shame. I don't expect you to be able to imagine that. My parents are both totally Americanized too. None of that battle hymn of the tiger mother crap around my house. Still, I'm scared to disappoint them. I'm studying sociology because I want to understand society. I might go and run for office or something. I don't need masks anymore, but back then I did. Carl and Stacy had posted photos and reports of their trip to Shreckland, and it must be nice being able to go where you want just because you want to go. I have to justify things to myself, overcome my baseline anxiety. I have meds, and I should take them, but I'm scared of them too. Is that dumb? And I was thinking to myself, take some of your meds, put on a cute outfit, and go have fun. I thought about the stage shows, the more carnival type rides, and the on rails movie attractions like Bad Dream Tutor. Things that were safe and easy. And it was then that Will texted me, inviting me to go to Shreckland, his treat. Was it fate? I can't say, but I agreed. Refusing would be more embarrassing than going. Still, I was terrified Will would realize I'm not who he thinks I am, and then he won't be my friend anymore. I wish I could be who he wants me to be, exotic but still familiar enough. But I'm just a normal American, dull as dishwater, boring old Kumi. I'm not sexy or cool or exotic. I don't know how to do the tea ceremony or any of that. But Will thinks I'm like some living anime character. He probably thinks I'm secretly a ninja or psychic. Well, I am psychic, but not in that cool way, exploding heads like in that old Michael Ironsides movie, or starting fires. I can talk to ghosts. That's why they scare me so much. They find out I can see them, and not all of them are nice. Some try to follow me home. I buy good luck charms from a Chinese shop in Fresno. They really ward the ghosts out of my house, but I tell everyone they're just dumb fun. I don't want to go to a nut house. Good luck charms, just like my key ring and my little shrine to Kanon, the goddess of mercy. They keep ghosts away, so who cares? The Chinese call her Kuan Yin, but I figure calling her by her Japanese name helps me out. My folks aren't religious. We do Christmas and Easter just for candy and to fit in. I love those Cadbury cream eggs, don't you? Anyway, I told Will that I would be happy to go with him, and I thanked him for treating me. Will's rich. I let him buy whenever he offers, because it's easier than trying to split the bill or find out that I don't have enough on my debit card. Will doesn't mind, or ask for any tit for tat either. If he asked, I'd be willing, but I'm a virgin and I'm scared of that too. I want to be cool like Stacy and Andy and Becca. I mean, Zach. Just have sex and then still be friends. It's so easy sounding. You already know them and trust them. There's no fear, no need to go to the club and try on a new mask. Speaking of, I tried 3 different outfits before I settled on a loose pleated plaid skirt that wasn't too short, a t shirt featuring the band Baby Metal, and my good luck charm bracelets. I didn't pack a wig or my special contacts. I was just going to try on a new mask, one that I called Miss Natural. No lipstick, even. Just some raspberry cheesecake flavored lip gloss. I laced up my sneakers and told my mom I was going to Shreckland with Will that night. I kept trying to convince myself and her that we weren't dating, but she didn't believe me. Will pulled up in his Honda. He didn't believe in showing off. I don't think anyone but me knew that he was rich. I waved as I walked up, cheery and happy Kumi, full of pep. Hi, Will. It's so cool of you to take me to Shreckland, but no really scary stuff, okay? I put on a face that I hoped was cute and girlish. He smiled. We'll be together, so it'll be fine. You can protect me, okay? He replied. I climbed in and I made a fist. Okay, Will, I'll protect you. I hope I looked brave and maybe a little silly. He laughed and I relaxed. Will was taller than me, but only by a little. He was trim, blond, blue-eyed. His haircut probably cost as much as my shirt. He popped in a CD of some Japanese girl group that I hadn't heard of. I didn't like the music, but I pretended and smiled. Traffic sucked, so we pulled over to Burger King to kill some time to let traffic loosen up some. I just ordered some fries. And Will said, "Let's not eat at Finger Lickin' Chicken." Stacy said it was staffed only by Asian ladies, I suggested. And why is that a problem? He asked. Well, I'd feel weird. What if there are Japanese girls there who are like from Japan? I was shocked that I admitted to my anxiety about meeting real Japanese, and he looked at me for a long while. Kumi, you're Japanese, he said patiently. Yeah, but if they speak Japanese at me and I tell them I only speak English, I'll be really embarrassed. He frowned. Okay, I don't want to make anything awkward for you. And then my phone chirped. Zach tweeted out an Associated Press article stating that Shreckland had a death toll already reaching 18 patrons and 4 staff. The employment contract protects Shreckland from liability in accidental death, and their families were given an undisclosed bonus to their final paycheck. Shreckland owned the rights to the likenesses of all staff, and I found that to be curious. And Will said, they don't have to work as hard on faces for zombies and ghosts and creatures, just use employees and occasional patrons. It makes sense. I nodded at him. And then I put on a cardboard crown and held aloft an especially long fry. I am the Burger Queen. Let my decree go forth in the land, I said and laughed. Will smiled. Very well. Have it your way. I jokingly put my scepter against my lip in thought, and then Will snapped a pic of me in that pose and he tweeted it out. I was mortified, but Miss Natural can be silly, so I laughed it off. Miss Natural is a take me as I am kind of girl. And then Andy tweeted to me, Hail Queen Kumi, long may she reign. Let them eat french fries, I replied. We finished our meal, and traffic was not noticeably better. So we drove on. The CD finished, and the disc changer switched to the soundtrack from Castlevania Symphony of the Night. You really like Castlevania, don't you? I asked. He grinned. Yeah. Wouldn't it be cool if they made a movie? Yeah. And he was about to add something, but then his mouth shut and his face grew crunched in. We're here, he announced. I looked around. So we were. I wanted to know what he had been going to say, but then he didn't mention any more. We parked and made the long walk to the admissions line. So, Will, tell me about a Castlevania movie, I urged. He looked at me and said, well, it would work best as a series. Tell the stories of different generations each season. There's a lot of lore to work with. And then he proceeded to tell me about the Belmont family. After a few minutes, maybe 15, we got to the booth, and a ghost took Will's money. No, not a real one, someone in a costume. We made our way through the wave of humanity. The place was packed, and I began to feel the clutch of a panic. Everyone here could see through my mask. My real eyes! I shut my eyes and I struggled for breath. Will gently led me to a bench, and he said, my friend is having an attack. May we please sit here? I guess the people moved. Thank you, he said. And then he helped me to sit, and he put an arm around me. I wanted it to help, but it didn't. Eventually, though, I was able to breathe normally again, and I opened my eyes. See, you're okay, he said with a smile. I nodded, but I was still recovering. I'm so sorry. There's just so many people, I said quietly. Do you want to stay? Yeah, we're here, so let's have a good time. And so then we went to the arcade. Will loves video games. I like them okay too, but I'm what game snobs call a casual. We played House of the Dead for a while, and then he led me over to play Night Slashers. It was a game about an American cyborg, an English vampire hunter, and a Chinese psychic who fight monsters. I played as the vampire hunter, who was a kickboxer for some reason, and Will picked the Chinese girl. I like speed, he said, almost defensively. What, scared people will say you have yellow fever? I asked, teasing. I hate that word, he said, mashing the buttons harder than necessary. I was joking, I said, feeling like I'd said something awful. Maybe I did. I hate all that jungle fever, yellow fever crap. We're all humans. It shouldn't matter who our ancestors were. Anybody should be allowed to fall in love with whoever they want without derogatory labels being attached to them. I didn't expect it from you. Yellow. I hate that. Asian people aren't yellow. I realized what he meant and why he was so upset. I guess I am a Twinkie, white on the inside. I left the game and I slumped against the side of the cabinet. I tried not to cry, hating myself. Will tried not to stop playing, but he didn't leave me like that. I hated myself more for wasting his money and the fun that we lost from leaving the game. The tears came and Will gave me a hug. I wanted it to help. It didn't. Kumi, I'm still your friend, okay? I'm sorry I got mad, he said softly. Will, you don't need to apologize. I'm the one who made a deal about race. You're not a Twinkie. You're a Kumiko, which is much nicer, he said, trying to make me smile. Besides, he added, even that Twinkie talk is racist bullshit. Again with the yellow. You're Japanese, you're American, you're your parents' daughter. Nothing changes that. Anybody who tells you you have to talk or act a certain way to be recognized as who you are is an asshole, and they don't deserve your time. Who are they to tell you how you're supposed to be Japanese? And I thought about what he was saying. I wiped my eyes and had to take out my contacts. I cried too much, I explained. I wiped my eyes again, and after a little while I reinserted my lenses. I internalized that racism. I'm sorry, Will. I didn't mean to imply that we were friends just because you have some fetish. And he looked into my eyes. I could see him kissing me reflected in them. No, not here. Not after that. He didn't try to kiss me, though. He must have seen something in my face. Let's go on a ride. How about Undying? It's a vampire movie, he said, trying to change the topic. I nodded, and as we walked, I remembered Undying was also a love story. And I was okay with that. We had to ride the spam tram to get to Undying. Listen, we all know Xi Jinping wants to get his hands on me, so I'm going to agree to a summit with him, Kim Jong Un, and South Korea's president so that I can get those boys in line. Shrek was saying as we sat down. America will not be bullied by Asian powers. Prime Minister Abe will be invited too, but I think I intimidate him, she added and fluffed her huge fake boobs. Gag. So everyone relax. I'm going to prevent World War III, not start it. I've got the goods, so it's all well in hand. Shrek gave a leering smile that made me feel sick. The press conference was replaced by an ad for Whole Foods. Will laughed. Did you get the feeling the president was planning on turning the summit into a gangbang? I seriously did. So gross, I replied. God, that's our president. We're so fucked. He laughed some more. And then Carpenter Craven and Shrek and the first husband were sitting in the front row on the crash coaster. As they went over the first hill, Shrek's bra popped out of her low buttoned blouse. Yeah, that wasn't planned. I shook my head. We got off at the station and walked another 50 yards, maybe, to Undying. It wasn't a long line, and on the monitor above the line was an interview with Craven and with his screenwriter Sandra Talbot and Percy Shelley. We wanted the love blooming on the battlefield story, Shelley said, so Undying takes place with a sizable vampire population. There are vigilante gangs roaming the streets. It's tense, Craven added. This ain't Twilight, folks. It sure wasn't. Undying was an on rails ride. We pulled the lap bars down and waited. A recording warned us to keep our hands in the cart at all times and insisted that vampires weren't real. Well, vampires aren't real anywhere. Why did they add that? The ride moved us through warehouse shipping doors, and then we were inside a foggy alley. Party's over, leech! A gang of vigilantes shouted to a cornered man who was very pale. Mind if my friends crash? He shouted with a laugh. Ambush! Shouted a vigilante. The vampires mobbed them. We rolled past. A couple sat at a diner late at night. I'm not like the other girls, she said. I know, you're special. And then a man pounded his fist on the window and tapped his wrist. Shit, curfew, she said, and they ran out. Another alley. Vampires ran and hissed, and one reached for me and shouted exultantly, Fresh meat! I screamed. Will put a protective arm around me, and that couple from earlier was huddled in an empty tenement. I'm so scared, the unnamed man said. Me too. Hold me, she said, and then we saw her fangs flash outward, but she did not bite. A vigilante with a homemade flamethrower called out, Come on out, leeches. Either way you burn. We're human, not leeches, the man called out. Then come out and let us test you. Another vigilante, this one wearing an ecclesiastical collar, replied, They'll kill me, she hissed. You mean you're one? Nosferatu? She nodded. Life ain't fair, is it? We'll find a way, he promised. And I looked at Will. It was then that he kissed me. The world fell to pieces as he held my face in his hands. I closed my eyes and kissed him back. He touched my mask. I felt it fall. He touched my face. He didn't see my acne scars or my crooked teeth. He saw little Kumi, and he still liked me. I put my face to his shoulder and hugged him. He didn't say anything. He held me. The ride didn't exist. We were just floating in perfect darkness, where no one was there to judge me, and I didn't need a mask to be liked. I could just be Kumi, and he could just be Will, and everything was going to be fine. Too soon, the ride was over. Up and at 'em, folks, said a teenage boy wearing a yellow vest. He helped me out of the car with a smile, and Will followed as we exited the turnstile. Is it just me, or did the world disappear? I asked. You might want to talk to a doctor, he joked. That was nice, he said, and he held my hand and led me toward the monster cars. They were just bumper cars with monsters painted on them. And I had a lot of fun. I laughed like a kid. Man, I don't know about you, but I'm hungry. Let's go get some bulgogi sandwiches, Will suggested. Korean barbecue sounded great, and I told him so. Sure you don't want Shrek burgers? He teased. I made a gagging sound. Never Shrek burgers. 238 specials from Shrek Burgers it is, he teased. Is that their signature burger? Of course. That's also why the name is plural. She made it about her boobs. Oh, God, it made sense now, and I hadn't even thought of it. I usually pick up on stuff like that, I said. We rode the tram again to get to the food court, and we entered the Korean barbecue shop. It was called So's. Simple enough name. Probably the owner's name. It was busy, so we had to wait in line, but the beef sandwiches were fantastic. They had fries that were thick and crisp. I wondered if Koreans liked French fries. I hadn't heard anything good about Shrek burgers by comparison, and when you held them up against each other, McDonald's was this gleaming high standard. I needed to use the bathroom. Girl goyles and guy goyles. How corny. Still, the bathroom was clean. After I finished, I wiped up and did the awkward hip twitch dance to get my panties back up and my skirt back down. I waited for Will outside, leaning against a tree. Hey, girl, you're looking good, a stranger said. Thanks. Have a nice time, buddy, I said. He didn't get the hint. I'd have a better time with you, he said. Aw, that's a shame. I'm here with someone. Better luck next time, I said, beginning to panic. Looks like you're alone to me, he said. My friend is using the John. Goodbye, I said, wishing he would just leave. He frowned. Come on, I'm just being nice. I scream. I swear to God I'll scream. Fine, crazy bitch. He finally left. When Will came out, wiping his hands off on his pants, he said, The blower is out of order, and I pulled him into a hug, gripping him fiercely. Just hush a minute, I whispered into his ear. After a while, he asked if I was okay. Yeah, just a guy who didn't take the hint. Were you afraid? I nodded. He did leave you alone, though? He asked, visibly concerned. Yeah, he left. And then I pulled back and he let go. Where do you want to go? We've done everything I want, it seems. Let's go to Coffin Queen. I liked that movie a little. Is it a walker? I nodded. And then suddenly I smiled. We checked a standing directory. Coffin Queen had a 13-minute wait. 13 isn't bad. Zombie Taft has 20, Will observed. Back to the spam tram. And this time we were seeing an ad with Craven and Shelley sitting at a bistro, and they toasted the camera. Take the tasting tour at Shrek Wineries. Tell 'em Carpenter sent you. The men smiled and took drinks. And then an ad for the upcoming movie Perfect Women Take Okinawa played next. I was surprised to see that there were so many non-Japanese in the trailer. Did they film on location? I asked. I saw lots of people who weren't Japanese, and, well, I guess Okinawa is still really Americanized with U.S. military there. And I didn't even know that America had troops on the island. I felt stupid for not knowing that. I had failed both parts of my heritage. Hey, are you okay? Will asked. Yeah, I'm just suffering from ignorance backlash. He laughed. Please explain. When confronted with my own ignorance that I can't excuse away, I have inner recriminations. Ah, so I see now. Ignorance backlash, he mused. We got in line for Coffin Queen. It was a movie about an evil sorceress who raised the dead to be her slaves and performed other black magic in the modern day Arizona. We were amused in line by monitors that were showing the trailer and the bonus features from the DVD. Craven had been filming stuff like that all the time, even back in the 80s, paying for the film himself when the studios didn't want to do it. And then after he started his own film company in the 90s, it wasn't an issue anymore. And who would have guessed what seemed like an ego trip would prove desirable years in the future? They showed an interview with Sandra Talbot. She had done this script by herself without working with Shelley. I had this idea of European black magic against Native American shamanic white magic. That's where the idea began, she explained. I also wanted a villainess who was funny. I had recently seen the pirate movie, and I loved the wisecracking villain. Carpenter loved that too. We nearly had Bette Midler to play the part. And then it showed screen test footage of the famous actress wearing a white robe covered with black feathers. And she was shouting out, "Grandma, you leave my gentleman caller alone. Go play solitaire." It was funny, I thought. But we decided that it had to be Janet Weiss. I never regretted the choice. Janet's a treasure. And then the screen went black. R.I.P. Janet Weiss, 1949, 1999. Thank you for all the good times, showed in white print. And then Carpenter Craven said, "We had planned a sequel, but while we were still doing early principal photography, Janet killed herself. And that was terrible. I couldn't do it without her." He began to cry. Janet was a remarkable woman. We were just so in love with her. She was so funny and talented and so full of life. We never knew. He put his face in his hands. "We never knew that she was suffering," he whispered. "Please, if you're thinking of suicide, call a helpline," he added. "I'm sorry, we're done for now." And then he walked away, and the camera lingered on the last cast photo from the wrap up party. And then it was our turn to enter the attraction. Will whooped, "Coffin Queen, we're coming for you, baby." I looked at him and laughed, but I felt my face flush. I didn't count how many of us were let through together, and it quickly proved unnecessary as the set, hall, ended in a dead end with three doors, one ahead of us and one on either side. Will and I let the others go ahead. All of them picked the front and right doors, so we chose the left. "Hey, Kumi, we're alone in Coffin Queen's house," he said as we entered what looked like a ballroom. I laughed softly. "Yep, and?" I asked. "And I want to dance with you." And then he pulled me along with him in an attempt at a waltz. I laughed and stumbled along with him, heedless of everything. This was a mistake. Quite abruptly, we were dancing in a hall of mirrors, and then I hit my head on one. I gasped at the sudden pain and looked around, halting. "Will, we fell into a trap." "Well, yeah, we did. Sorry. Was this in the movie?" he replied, looking and reaching out with his hands. "Sort of. Someone got trapped in her enchanted mirror, and then their soul was separated from their body, and Coffin Queen used both of them for her evil purposes," I explained. "Okay, let's find our way out," and he set off. "Don't leave me," I shouted, but it was too late. There was now a glass panel separating us. I pounded on it, but I only succeeded in hurting my hand. He eventually looked back, The jerk. Worst first date ever, Romeo! I screamed at him, but he couldn't hear me. He rested his palm on the glass, just like in prison movies. It was kind of heartbreaking. I put my hand by his, and then he gulped and walked away. I blinked away the tears, and then I tried to find my own path. Why was I overreacting like this? It was just a mirror maze in a haunted house at an amusement park, and I'd had my first kiss. I groped and shuffled my feet. I did find a way out, an exit. My phone screamed. Another soul in Coffin Queen's locker. Sticker now available, said the notification. I sat down on one of the head stools and I downloaded the sticker. Why did I let Will ruin our chance of surviving with that dumb stunt? Did I need to dance with him that much? Or at all? And then Zach tweeted me, "Hey girl, Coffin Queen claims another." And he added a smiley. Yeah, Zach, he got me, I replied. He sent a picture of him wearing his Shreckland hat, and he was smiling. Still wrapping my head around the new you, Zach. I hope you forgive me when I make mistakes, I sent. Yeah, Kumi, it's cool. I know that the change was kind of sudden, and what matters is that you're making the change and you're catching yourself. And I thanked him for his consideration and patience with me. And then I said, "So, you've got a boyfriend and a girlfriend. Life must be sweet, yeah?" I asked, changing the subject. What do you mean? I'm only dating Andy. Uh-oh. Oh, I thought you and Andy and Stacy, I sent. No, I don't like girls. I'm a one-man man, okay? I love Andy, he replied. And then after a minute, I apologized again. And I looked around. No Will. Angry face. It's okay, Kumi. You didn't know, and somebody obviously blabbed about what I thought was a private moment, he went on. It's not your fault, but who told you? He replied. Oh, shit. No one told me. I just had seen it in their eyes. All three of them. No one told me. I'm psychic. That's how I know, I tweeted him, and then I slapped my forehead. He doesn't believe that. You promise no one told you? He asked. Solemn promise, I replied. You tell anyone? Nobody. Okay then. Keep it private, okay? It was a very special thing. I promise, Zach. Sorry for getting mad. And I was amazed he believed me. Stacy thought I was fooling myself, I know. And still no Will. What the hell? I texted him, "Where are you?" 4 minutes later, he replied, "Still in the house. Sorry. See you soon." I looked around and I bought some of that dumb black cotton candy. It tasted kind of berry flavored. I liked it. Still no Will. I worried, and then I got annoyed for worrying, and then I got anxious because I was alone in a sea of strangers. I finished my cotton candy and threw away the paper cone it was wrapped around. I felt another panic attack coming, so I sat back down on the head bench and I texted Stacy. I said, "Having fun at Shreckland, but separated from Will at Coffin Queen. Can I call you for calming help?" In reply, she called me. "Hi," I said, answering. "How you holding up, Kumi? Is it busy?" she asked. It's busy, but shut up about that. Will kissed me on undying. It was weird but sweet. And then we danced in Coffin Queen's ballroom. Then we got trapped in the mirror maze, but he got out of it, and he's still in the attraction somehow. And then I paused to catch my breath. I'm reasonably sure he's fine. He'll have a fun story to tell you when he gets out, Stacy said. Reasonably sure? There's a chance he's hurt? I said, getting anxious again. Whoa, slow down, Testarossa. It's a joke. I was going to tease you and say Coffin Queen cast a spell and made him her love slave. Like she did to Jackie Earl Haley, I said, smiling. His character's name was Morris, Kumiko, she said in her snooty, pedantic voice. I laughed some more. Stacy was always good for a mood lifter. She deserved a good boyfriend. I was saddened to learn that I had been mistaken and that she was single. Could I tell her that? No. So we speculated on what the unfinished Coffin Queen sequel could have been like. And then finally Will came into view. Why weren't you at the exit? He asked. Oh, Will's back. See you later, Stace, I said. Give him a noogie for me, she replied, and ended the call. I pointed at my exit sign. Yeah, but you knew I wasn't going to come out that door. Oh. I wanted cotton candy. And then Stacy called. She said to give you this. I rubbed my knuckles on top of his head, and then I said, Noogie. He laughed and pulled out a comb to fix his hair, and then I gave him a kiss. I would never tell him how scared I'd gotten.